Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and in this episode, there's episode 725, and in this episode, which is being broadcasted live on YouTube, on Facebook, and all those places, we're going to be talking about how your reality follows your story. Okay, let's just quickly break that down to make it really simplistic and easy. If we think about it, you have this perception of what you think is true, right? Like your story, your beliefs, the way that you experience the world around you, you delete, distort, you generalize tons of information in any given moment, and you just look through that perception of reality, not real reality, just your perception. So we have the reality. Let's have an example here, right? So just before I was going live, I got this, just a small clip that I saw online. And it was a story of two people going through the exact same experience. I don't know how the story ended because I had to go live, but I'm going to just presume what actually happens. So, when you think about this story, just consider the difference that makes the difference. One person wakes up one day and it's raining outside, it's stormy, and the person kind of looks out the window and goes, do you know what, today is going to be a day that I'm just going to relax. You know, it's rainy outside, it's cold, I'm not going to do anything today. Whereas another person in the exact same area looks out the window and it's raining and it's like thunder, and the person goes, today is a good day to get something done because I know that people are going to be home, and that means in my business I can cold call, I can kind of reach out to them and have an opportunity to make money or to provide a service. Now, these two people had the exact same maybe job or career, but they had different interpretation to their needs of what they thought they could do that day. One blamed the weather for doing nothing, which is okay, and the other one saw the opportunity. So the lesson here is that you are uniquely observing the world around you. And based on that uniqueness, you will start to create and radiate and project a certain reality. Whatever you perceive to be true is true to you. It doesn't have to be true for everyone. In other words, you could have gone through the exact kind of experiences in the past. Maybe we were hurt, maybe we went through a significant emotional event, maybe we were told certain things, yet someone else could be in the exact same situation and come up with a different sense of a meaning attached to it. I know, for example, one person who grew up in poverty. Now, that person made a decision that they'll never be poor again because of the experience that they went through growing up. So their story began to be one of, I'm never going to be poor, I'm going to be abundant. Now, we all know other people, or some other people, could go through that poverty and repeat the same story, thinking that is the only reality. Yet, two people deciding two realities, or two so-called realities, because they're running the narrative of a certain story in their mind. So the question to you today is to consider, to kind of like observe or take a conscious awareness, like a look into what your story you are projecting. I posted something on social media just the other day and I said, what would you tell your younger self? And what would the you in the future tell the present you? And some of the answers were very, very interesting. Because as we go through ages, we have different perceptions. We would probably tell that younger child that it's going to be okay, or things are going to change, or that I love you, all those things. We didn't have it in that moment, but if we go further out into the future, we are going to have different perceptions because we're going to go through different events. And if you are repeating the same story, what is going to happen? So think about your health for a moment. Do you have a recurring story in your mind that you keep on repeating? whether it be positive or whether it be negative. When you think about your abundance, so your ability to earn significant sums of money, if that is what you wanted, are there stories running beneath the surface that are contradicting that goal? Maybe that money doesn't grow on trees, or you've got to work hard to be successful. All of those things. What stories are you telling yourself? When it comes to relationships, do you have stories that maybe people always cheat or put you down, or it takes away your free time? All of those things. We're going to have a story on each area of our life, and sometimes an overriding story. Maybe an overriding story which goes into those categories of life, those different areas, where it kind of bleeds into them, maybe by a belief of like, I'm not enough. Think about that. If your story was that you're not enough or not worthy, how are we ever going to be worthy of money? How are we ever going to be worthy of a healthy relationship, a loving relationship? How are we going to be worthy of the career that we desire? How are we worthy to have the body or the health that we desire? You see, that story is going to dictate how you show up in the world. When you look out that window, how you're going to feel, how you're going to act, and how you're going to react. Because we are having this interesting relationship between the inside world of you and the external. But the internal world is the key point here. Because when the mindset's right, the facts don't count. I'll say that again. When your mindset is right, the facts don't count. There have been countless times where people said that they could not do certain things, that it was impossible to achieve certain successes, whether it be physically, whether it be in science at times, when they're told it's just impossible to do that, until someone had the audacity to actually run a different narrative of a story that makes them go, maybe it is possible. Maybe there is another way where I can make this a reality. You see, you can go through many different things in life. You may have been hurt in the past. You may have gone through a lot of pain. You may have experienced a lot of worry and anxiety like I did growing up. But if I continued that story, that I was broken, which was my story, that I was unfixable, which was my story, if I carried on doing that, I would not be doing what I'm doing today. You see, it takes a certain time, a breaking point, where you've got to realize that your present reality does not have to be the only reality. Because your story allows reality to begin to happen. Your reality allows you to go, this is who I'm going to be today. This is who I want to be. This is what I'm going to get out of my life. Or there's what I cannot get out of my life. It all starts from that original story that you're experiencing. So really take a close look. Think about it for me. What stories, and you can leave this in the chat, you can leave this on the video, or you can write this down if you're listening to this on the app or the podcast. But notice, what stories have you been holding on to? What stories have you been considering? What stories have you held on for way too long? Then ask yourself another question. Are those stories even yours? Think about it. Is it truth? Is it reality? Is it something that we really, really need? Is it something that no longer serves us? Is this story causing you more pain than good? Sometimes that story can be that I am not enough, like I said. Maybe the story is that I've got to carry on keeping the anxiety to be safe. I've got to stay in my comfort zone. But is that story truly serving you? Is it serving those in your life? Is it serving your health? Is it serving your career? Is it serving your future self? And really, and this is the one which really gets me thinking, is it serving that younger you by maintaining the same story? Are we being of disservice to that younger self I don't know how long we've had our story or our issues or our symptoms or the core issue. But if we maintain the same story, I think it's of a disservice of that younger self of us who went through pain. Maybe we should be the example to that younger self. Maybe we can be an example to those in our family. Maybe we can be an example to those you don't even know yet. And I say that because that's been my present experience. You see, I went all out for me. And not in a bad way, I just wanted my issues gone. And I was relentless in trying to find that answer. And maybe you've been here, I tried many different things. But it was only once I found the truth, my personal truth, my own philosophy, what it is today, to let go of the root cause which generates that subjective reality. Once I made that decision, once I assumed responsibility for my story, because that's another one. How many times do we blame people for our story? Now, whether it's right or wrong, because look, people can do very, very mean things to us. But if I place blame and only blame, and this might push up against your values, and that's okay. I'm not going to apologize for that because it'll be of disservice for not to you to ask a question on the inside or to at least consider this. If that person or that situation caused this, it caused all of this pain, it caused this story, then only that person can let that go for us. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's even possible. We're giving way too much energy for someone else to fix ourselves. Now, of course, we can get people to help us to make that. That's so important, in my opinion, to be able to get support, the right solutions, the right success, the right story. But we must take ownership of the maintenance of that story. It's almost like, it just came to me, it's like, you know when you have those relay races, imagine that first person handing you that story. Are you going to keep on maintaining that story, holding on to it, going through the race of life? Or are you going to start to let it go and run your own race, where you're going to allow yourself to be the example of what can be done? You see, what I did with my work is I fell into this. I just learned what I learned, acquired the skill sets or the ideas, and then I wanted to help other people, hopefully to awaken from the sedation of their present story or their issue. With using story as a very generalized term here. But you've got to be the awakener to your own story. Are we ready to just close a chapter in our life? Are we ready to give up someone else's story which was passed down to us, whether it be through the generations, whether it be through the economy, whether it be through society, whether it be through religion or culture or family or teachers or friends or guardians, siblings, office people, managers, employees? Are we going to keep the story's maintenance in our mind and renting out that space in our mind to just keep doing the same old thing? I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's our right to create the story of our life. And sometimes it can be a pivotal moment. You know, when you just go, this is my time. I don't know how to get there. A lot of people come to me because they've been to work with many other people. I'm not the go-to person. They've usually worked with many other people, and then I call it last chance stuff because I solve it at the last time, right? Because that's what we do. We get successes. But are we willing to keep on doing the same thing over and over again? Or are we ready to do something different today? To awaken the mind to some deeper truth. Not from the learned strategy, but an awakening within you, where you go, this is my time to decide to close a past chapter of that story. That was the chapter of struggle. That was the chapter of pain. That was the chapter of the old me. But this new chapter, I'm going to write something new. I'm going to write and cultivate and script out my desires in a way that allows me to live and shine in my life. Where I wake up every single day and I radiate my desires, knowing my desires want me when that happens. For whatever you desire, desires you too. I really believe that. Unfortunately, here's the real thing. We are unconsciously, through that story, desiring more of it. You see, the more you live in anxiety, the more you live in that pain, the more you live in that story, like any story, we get engrossed in it. Like we kind of live it. You watch a movie, you're immersed in the story. But that's not always that helpful. Especially if we keep on reliving the same scenes or the same chapter over and over again. Every good and great story, we close out a chapter. There are usually certain parts. I think it's either 3 parts or 4 parts based on script writing. But either way, whether it's 3 or 4, we need to close out this chapter. We need to write the new script of our life. And it starts with a decision. Because when you think about it, if our reality is following our story and we're immersed in the negative, because it's easy to do, right? Because if I go, well, this is the reason as to why I am like I am, I have a sense of validation as to staying the same. I have reasons to stay the same. So it's very easy to fall into that trap. I would probably say, and there's where people might go up against their values again, we fall into the victim mode. Now, of course, we can be victims to our circumstance, so I'm not negating that. But to live in the victim mode for the rest of our life, that's not fair or right for you. So sometimes we need to give up that victim mode and go, I'm going to be the victor of my life. I'm going to do something special today. I'm going to start that new sentence. I'm going to put that new title down. Maybe think about that. Write that one down. What is going to be the chapter of your life today, starting today, that will allow you to go through the many other chapters of your life? We kind of said this a couple of days ago, but sometimes we go through seasons, right? Seasons of life, seasons biologically, seasons in the weather. This is your season of change. This is where you start to awaken to what is possible, where you go, I'm all in for me, knowing when I'm all in for me, others will get so much more. You see, most people I work with tend to be people pleasers. And that is because they don't feel enough. They overdo things because they want that external validation. They want to be able to help people. Now, I love the intention, right? It's always nice to have that in external validation, but I prefer internal validation first. But we need to break out of that pattern and that habit and actually go, maybe if I focus on me, my health, my relationships, my career, my finances, my success, my emotional well-being, to fall in love with yourself. Look, if you don't fall in love with yourself, not from ego, but from knowingness, from knowing your worth, knowing your value. That's what I'm on about. When you know your worth and you love yourself. And yeah, there's going to be times when you don't. There's going to be times when things are going wrong. But if you have that underlying deep inner self-certainty, that unwavering self-belief because you are in for more greatness, that you are worthy of the riches, you are worthy of the great relationships, you are worthy of your own business or that great career, you're worthy, deserving, and capable to do all those things that you desire. That is what I'm after. That is the story that we have to create. And I like to think we can create that together. You see, as I talk about my program often as examples for you to consider in your mind. So we get together throughout the month in these small groups and we celebrate our successes. We ask questions. People ask questions that you didn't know you had, but once answered created an internal epiphany. You see, I have always said epiphany shared is an epiphany gained. You see, you can have your epiphanies, your insights, and keep them to yourself, and that's fine and that's good. But once you start to come together as a community and you share your epiphanies, you share your wins, it gives people unconsciously the permission to do so. Now, one of the reasons why I'm saying that is, one, get a community who you can be surrounded with, which will be the new characters in your story in the most loving way, where they are supporting you, lifting you up, and allowing you the ability to bloom into who you want to be, to go into that season of spring that allows you to grow in such a awesome, amazing way. But second of all, the other reason for this is that once you consider putting yourself out there, celebrating yourself, where you don't crave external validation anymore, but you're connected with who you are, it will help your present community. Because like I said, people please all the time, but it doesn't do anyone any good. We may think it is, but it's actually holding them back as much as it's holding you back. But once you begin to assume responsibility in creating that new story in your life today, you're going to give people in your present community, in other words, your family, your friends, your children, your pets, who knows, you're going to give them permission to shine as well. You're going to develop healthy boundaries, and that is where the magic can continue to go forward. So really think about this as we close off this episode. Once again, what stories are you running? Think about it individually in the areas of your life, because sometimes one will be louder than the other. You see, I work with a lot of career professionals. So predominantly they come to see me with some career kind of issues, and that's normal. But we also know that the career issues or the business issues actually go over into their personal life and their health. So one of them may pop out more, but we do know it goes into other areas. And then consider, like, what's the overriding story? And then thirdly, is this story even ours? Are we giving people too much benefit and credit for the story of our life by creating that pain and the experiences we went through? Are we serving that younger self by carrying on the baton of that story? Or are we ready to give that up, decide something new, become the script writer of your life, the creator, the producer, the director, the main character that not only has gone through pain, but has gone through the achievement and the learnings from that journey, because the learnings are going to liberate you. And once again, find a community or make the change and have an impact on your community, because that's what happened to me, the latter. But I still love the first one of my present community of sharing epiphanies and insights. But that story comes from you. It is maintained by you. And it's up to you which story you're going to create. Because as we know, your story distorts, deletes, and generalizes your reality. You see, that limiting belief of not being enough, for example, or maybe feeling like we may get rejected, the fear of being found out, is a distortion of how you see yourself and how you see situations. It's a deletion because it's deleting your potentiality. It's a generalization because we say, well, I'm always going to be this way, or this always happens. These are generalizing statements, but they're generalizing beliefs and ideas that are maintaining that narrative. But once you start to decode the brain or the unconscious mind and start to rewire the neuroplasticity, the neurotransmitters, once you start to brain train your unconscious mind to get it back on your side, you will be set free. And then the other chapters will just write themselves. And we always know the next ones are going to be even better, because we progress through life and shine in every single way. That's what I want for you anyway. I've been there, been through the story, created a new story, recognized who I really am, and I'm now ready to hopefully help many other people in the world. And I want you to do the exact same thing, just to liberate from the fear, from the story, and create something that you desire. Now, of course, if you need specific help with this, and you are committed, you are decisive, you are financially invested, you can ultimately try to apply for my program. It's like I said, it's very, very small. We don't work with hundreds of people. This is customized for your needs, but you gotta be a professional. You gotta spend, I don't know, imagine spending like 2 to 3 hours per week for just 8 weeks and life just transforms. The issue you've had for decades just goes within 8 weeks just by following the recipe to success, doing the work, by being resourceful, decisive, and dedicated to that past self, the present self, and the future you in the most amazing way. And you never know, maybe generations to come. So if that is the case, you can go ahead and book your call to apply for our program at josephclough.info. And when you go there, you'll see a time to speak to us. It is like a one-to-one call with us. And on that one-to-one call, we'll get clear on exactly where you are. In other words, what you want to let go of. We'll get clear on exactly what you want to achieve. We'll figure out what's getting in your way, and then we'll come up with a customized plan to let it go through my process, through my program. Fully tailored, fully customized for your needs at josephclough.info/talk. Once again, you book a call, you fill out an application. I didn't mention that part. You fill out an application to prepare the person to be speaking with you, and that just means we can rise up, shine up, and make sure we can support you and get you the result if we can. We are getting 100% successes, and the reason is the system works, but we only work the person we know we can solve the issue. So with that, my friends, I look forward to speaking to you on a future episode, and as always, just know you can change, you can transform. Whatever you think you are always more than enough. You just gotta make that change to write the new story. So with that, have a great one. Many thanks and goodbye.